Hello everyone and welcome to Brickcats. My channel is for anyone who enjoys custom LEGO creations, likes saving money, and or those looking to get into custom building. If you're a fan of my channel or are interested in supporting what I do, please consider subscribing, liking this video, or leaving a comment. Each subscription, like, and comment helps others find my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Today I am reviewing designer Pikes Creations minifigure scale TIE D automated starfighter, more commonly referred to as the TIE Droid. Without any substitutions in late January 2024 for the ship only, I was getting 3 stores and $81 without shipping and tax, or about $105 with shipping and tax. In my reviews, I offer my opinions on aesthetics and model features, parts issues you might want to look out for, the build experience, the model's integrity, and I close out with my overall impression and pricing information in the conclusion. If you're watching this review, I assume that you've bought the instructions or are interested in buying them. I also assume a basic level of familiarity with Bricklink's ordering system and LEGO nomenclature. I only use genuine LEGO bricks and I always purchase the instructions. I create these reviews for my own personal enjoyment and in the hopes that my advice will make your experience more enjoyable and or less expensive. Pikes Creations TIE Droid measures 7.75 inches long, 7.75 inches wide, and just over 3.5 inches tall. The model doesn't come with a display stand yet, so the one I am using here from Grinding Bricks has the model sitting about 9.5 inches off my table. The TIE D is scaled to a standard TIE fighter in roughly the proportions found in this photo from Rebel scale models of the TIE D next to a standard TIE fighter. And using Jarek's model as the standard TIE fighter reference, it looks like Pike nailed it in my opinion. The TIE Droid's appearance differs a lot depending on the source material, mostly with the size of the wings relative to the cockpit ball, and this looks closest to the proportions featured in the Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels to me. The cockpit ball uses the 3x3x2 round corner bricks, and since this model doesn't need to fit a minifigure, it's nice and compact at 7 studs wide, with only 1 stud in between the corner bricks. The red dish for the cockpit windscreen looks great, as does the construction of the windscreen detailing with the black rigid hose running across the center. This rigid hose is a 7 stud hose and it sits fairly far off the dish, but a 6L hose doesn't work, so this is the best we can do using this method. Along with the slopes on either side, I think there's an argument for dark bluish gray or even light bluish gray, as again, depending on the source, these details are the same color as the hull, but in my opinion the black offers really nice contrast. The chin cannons are in the appropriate place and integrated well with the rest of the structure. Dishes form the top and the bottom of the fighter. I definitely like the printed top dish for the detail it provides, but on the bottom I probably could have done without it simply because it's easier to mount on a stand without this bottom dish here. In general, this is also not an area you're going to be looking at much. Moving around to the back of the fighter, the twin ion engines are represented with these modified tiles and round plates with holes. There is a little bit of the red showing here, which I'll come back to in a little bit. Using the Rebel scale model for comparison, there probably could be a little more shaping at the back here. This is usually done with some kind of dish, and the 5x5 dish is usually a good fit for TIE fighters. However, the designer has included this little section here that gets the idea across. The wing pylons are fairly simple and look good to me. Going back to that little area of red that's visible in the engine, I think it could be hidden a little more if there was another plate's thickness right here. This would also round out the pylons a bit more. You can see from a top view here that it's just a little blocky in the vertical dimension, but again, this isn't going to be that noticeable. The pylons use a simple but effective set of connections using the pneumatic T elements to get the wings angled but stable. There are some resulting gaps in the lower section here that are a little distracting, and I wasn't able to come up with a great way to fill this in, so definitely let me know if you have any ideas. The wings of the ship are more accurate to some source material than others, but proportions look good and the general shape is accurate. Some renders have the octagonal section taking up the entire height of the wing, others also have small sections above and below and various arrangements of the solar collector sections in black. The main sections of the wing are 1 brick thick, and the entire perimeter of the wing is tiled off with only a half plate sticking out at the ends here. This is fairly noticeable, but it would take significant reworking of the wings to change it. Unfortunately, the TIE D does not come with a stand at the time I'm making this review. The designer says he will be making one soon. The bottom dish does make it a little tricky to mount, so the stand I'm using here is my good friend Grinding Bricks Universal Display Stand for small and medium ships, which I'll do a more detailed review on soon, but suffice it to say that this is a very sturdy stand that I'm going to be using a lot in the future, and this adapter allows for a pretty good connection to the bottom dish there. Pikes TIE Droid is a small build and requires 81 elements and 620 pieces. Most of the elements have an edge showing, and there aren't any super rare or expensive ones to begin with, so this is a very efficient model and not too expensive. The tile round 2x2 with bottom stud holder with black Star Wars TIE Fighter pattern, part 14769 PB025, is usually running over $1 each. I really like these tiles and I have a bunch of them available, so that's why I use them. But the plain 2x2 round tile in dark bluish gray, part 14769, would look fine as well. Also, the TIE Bomber set recently introduced a new printed tile that would also work quite well. The tile round 2x2 with bottom stud holder with black Star Wars TIE Bomber pattern, part 14769 PB578. There are minor differences between the two prints, but I doubt anyone is going to know unless they look really hard and spend way too much time looking at LEGO elements like I do. For pricing purposes, I did substitute the TIE Bomber tile. The Dish 4x4 in Burbid radar with solid stud with Star Wars TIE hatch black and dark bluish gray pattern, part 3960 PB051, can also be quite expensive. I would check your results to make sure you're not paying more than $1.50 or so, as some sellers have these listed for a lot more than I think they should, and the algorithm might steer you to one of those. I left this in for pricing purposes, but you could substitute the plain 4x4 dish by increasing the quantity of part 35394 and light bluish gray from 1 to 2. And finally, as usual, I used the Brick Hunter extension to check the entire parts list against the Pick-a-Brick inventory. Watch my video on Brick Hunter if you haven't already or don't know how to use it, and you'll see in the conclusion how much I was able to save by ordering the majority of the pieces directly from LEGO. This TIE D model has 129 steps, with each part or subassembly added in each step outlined in red against a white background. I didn't have any problems with this color scheme, and I didn't find any steps that I thought were unclear, had non-optimal viewing angles, and also I didn't find any sequencing issues. The designer includes helpful notes regarding orientation of pieces, problems you might run into with particular connections, and a photo of how the cockpit bar should look at the very end of the build. These are great, I always appreciate this, and this makes the build very accessible to builders of pretty much all skill levels. Each step has you adding a reasonable number of pieces so the build doesn't feel too quick or too slow. Without any pre-sorting of the parts, the build took me about 90 minutes, and I was certainly not rushing. There is one section where you repeat the sub-assemblies that make up the forward sections of the wings 28 times, so that was a little repetitive, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. The only thing I took note of was that on 2 pages with multiple steps, the steps alternate between the horizontal and vertical directions. For steps 25 to 30, you read them in the traditional way, left to right, but then in steps 37 to 40, you're reading top to bottom. This is certainly a minor thing, and it only happens once. I don't know enough about Studio to know if this is a Studio thing or not, but maybe it's some issue with the graphics fitting on the page or something like that. Overall, the instructions for the TIE Droid are excellent, and I can tell the designer put in some serious effort to make them and the build go smoothly. The TIE Droid is generally a very solid model, with a couple of weak spots. The cannons can obviously move around. This bottom dish is only connected with a hollow stud, so that's a little bit weak, especially I find that comes off mostly putting it on and off the stand. The forward sections of the wing are connected to the main section here with this tile, but it is not connected similarly on this side. So I did have this fall one time, and to the model's credit, it did stay together, but some of the forward wing sections separated, and I'll show you how. So there's the separation point, and here is the tile. Oops. The tile that holds everything in. So this is not delicate by any means. Like I said, I just dropped it, but that could be an issue. The pneumatic T connections are also very solid, but you can pull the wings off fairly easily if you needed to. In Legends, these wings were supposed to be on servo motors and thus be able to move around, but I'm not exactly sure if they were supposed to rotate up or down, kind of like this. Which I guess doesn't make much sense, or if the angle is supposed to change, making this kind of flatter like that. But anyway, these wings can move a little bit, but it's generally not too big of an issue. And the only thing I've noticed in terms of stability has been these small sections on the top and the bottom of the pylons. Due to the way the core of this model is constructed, it's just a series of brick modified 1x1 with studs on all sides, right through the center here. I believe this allows for a fair bit of flexing that you wouldn't get with longer bricks or a Technic piece. So you can kind of see some of these sections separating here, and this happens all the time. Just barely see it starting to happen there too. So when handling this model, yeah, I noticed this, and all you have to do is pop it back in. Not a big deal. I'll talk a little bit about the stand here. I think the lack of a stand is pretty much the only significant criticism I have of this model, and that's because it looks so much better propped up off your display surface. And like I said, Pikes Creations does state that they are working on a stand on the model's rebrickable page, but in the meantime, I am using Grinding Bricks' universal stand. The universal stand is designed to fit a number of different kinds of models, and as you can probably tell from just the appearance, it is very sturdy. I did have to modify this slightly by adding another 2L connector right here to angle the base upwards a little bit, as the TIE Droid is rather front heavy. The best part about this stand is that Grinding Bricks includes instructions for 3 different kinds of mounts. This is the one you see here is great for models with dishes on the bottom. There is another right here for models with studs on the bottom. And then the last one is with either studs or anti-studs. You can take out these Technic pins and use it for a model like Durex, which has typically the 2 studs on the bottom to mount it. There's also another one, many more actually, but this adapter is for the TIE Advanced from Brick Vault. Kind of a tricky shape to mount, but I'm glad that he made this adapter as well. The instructions for the stand are free, and parts cost anywhere from $12 to $15 US plus shipping, so it's very reasonable in my opinion. Especially for models that don't come with a stand by default. This is very sturdy. This can hold a ton of weight. I would not be hesitant to put basically any model on top of this, as long as it was small and compact enough that it won't like rotate around or something like that. So yeah, this is a really great stand. I hope to be using it more, and I'll probably do a more in-depth video about it very soon. Pikes Creations TIE Droid is an excellent model, and I'm very happy to add it to my TIE collection. I think anyone who is a Legends fan will enjoy adding it to theirs as well. The model looks great, it's very sturdy, it offers a smooth and accessible building experience, and happily it doesn't break the bank either. Without any substitutions, in late January 2024, I was getting 3 stores and $81 without shipping and tax, or $105 with shipping and tax. Substituting out the expensive 2x2 tile on either side of the wings for the newer TIE Bomber version, I did get some modest savings. 3 stores and $78 without shipping and tax, or about $101 with shipping and tax. And finally, buying as much as I could from Pick-a-Brick, I was getting a Pick-a-Brick total of $65. This did not include shipping or handling, but did include tax. The remaining elements I could get from Bricklink from 2 stores and $2 without shipping and tax, or about $14 with shipping and tax, for a total of $79. With Pick-a-Brick, my standard pieces cart was only about $10, which incurred a $7 handling fee, so I upped my purchase with the standard pieces to $14 to meet the threshold, and this ended up saving me $3 overall. Instructions for the TIE Droid cost $4.99, which is incredibly reasonable, and are available from Rebrickable. There will be a link to the model's Rebrickable page in the description below, as well as a link to Grinding Bricks' universal stand instructions. Thanks as always for watching my review of Pikes Creations TIE Droid Starfighter. If you built the model, you have something to share that I left out, or have a question about something I didn't cover, please leave your thoughts below in the comments. Remember to subscribe, leave the video a like or comment, and follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Each subscription, comment, and like helps increase the channel's visibility, and I greatly appreciate your support. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you back next time.